How is good, everyone? Today we're going to talk about the WWE Network special that aired last night after Raw, which was the Holy Grail, the search for WWE's most infamous lost match between Bret Hart and Tom Magee back in 1986. If you guys don't know the backstory behind this match, it was Tom Magee's WWE tryout match against Bret Hart. He was penciled pretty much to be the next Hulk Hogan. He was going to be the next big thing in professional wrestling, or more so in the WWE. But irony of the match is that Bret Hart ended up being the next top guy over Tom Magee, and Tom Magee kind of just faded out and became absolutely nothing in wrestling. So big history behind it. You know, it was a holy grail for tape traders back in the day. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys personally. You know, I don't know much about Tom Magee versus Bret Hart. I've heard bits and pieces over the years. I've heard references, I've heard little jokes about it and whatnot, but I never really went out of my way to see what the hype and talk was about in terms of Tom Magee versus Bret Hart. Obviously, over the last few weeks, maybe even months, more talk about it has surfaced, especially the fact that, you know, StarCast is having an event with Bret Hart and Tom Magee about the match itself. And of course, the match itself was discovered on a tape by the fan that owned it and decided to, you know, put clips of it. And of course, WWE decided, you know what, we own this match, why not just put it out to the world, considering everyone's talking about it right now. So this is pretty much WWE's way of capitalizing on the match itself and, you know, airing it before, you know, anyone else really sees it. And you know, it's just WWE being WWE. And the documentary itself is 30 minutes long, or the special itself is 30 minutes long, about 20 minutes of interviews, and of course about 10 minutes of the actual match itself. So I like the way it's produced. I thought it was thrown together very nicely. Obviously, WWE kind of just scattered and threw this together at last minute. Interviewed a bunch of people for it. Of course, Bret Hart was in it. X-Pac was part of it. You know, Sam Roberts, Tyson Kidd, Harry Smith, who did a spot-on, perfect impression of Bret Hart, might I add. And you know, even later towards the end of the documentary, you know, Tom Magee was interviewed himself, and Cassius Ohno, who did a phenomenal job in this documentary. I felt like he really sold the match on everyone and how important it was back in the day on everyone in this documentary. So Cassius Ohno definitely was a highlight in terms of being interviewed, in my personal opinion. But yeah, they just gave a backstory behind it. You know, they talked about, you know, how Tom Magee, like I said, was penciled to be the next Hulk Hogan. You know, he was discovered in the Hart dungeon. Vince saw him. You know, he saw he's a big guy, athletic, had the look. You know, he's a good-looking guy. He had all the tools, and he's like, you know, he was young, he's new. Let's get him in here. Let's get him here into the WWE. Of course, you know, Stu Hart sends him there, and he has a tryout match at a TV tapings that did not air, obviously, against Bret Hart. You know, Bret Hart pretty much went in there, was the guy to make him look good. Bret pretty much asked him, what are your 3 best moves? He told Bret his 3 best moves, and Bret said, all right, let's just let me do the work. You know, and Bret was going to work around his 3 moves to make him look good, and that's exactly what Bret did. Phenomenal carry job in that match. And the irony of it, like I said, was, you know, they wanted Tom Magee to be the next big thing. Ended up being Bret Hart. You know, after the match, Vince loved it. He thought it was great. He loved it. And they thought they had their next guy. It was just the wrong guy that they thought of, and they really covered the bases of that. They talked about how important that match was in terms of tape trading, that, you know, a lot of people thought it was an urban legend, and, you know, a lot of people didn't believe it was an actual thing. And then, you know, obviously it surfaced, and you know, Bret Hart always had his collection. You know, Tyson Kidd even recalled trying to have several attempts to see the match itself, so Bret to show him during training, but Bret never did. He never got around to it, or just never did it. You just told him what match you want to see, and they tell me, like, nah, we're not doing that. And you know, obviously Bret's secretary wanted to convert Bret's tapes onto DVD because, you know, they're getting old and they wanted to save space, and Bret always has his matches on tape just to go back and study and watch and whatnot and show the people. And of course, you know, they sent them to this person, and she was a huge fan. You know, they even showed clips of her at shows back in like the 80s and 90s. Huge fan. And she was converting the tapes to the DVDs, and Bret Hart's secretary ended up saying, you know, keep the tapes, we just need the DVDs, you know, what used to have for the tapes. And one of those tapes ended up being Bret Hart versus Tom Magee, and you know, she posted clips on Twitter of it, and it was the real thing. And of course, a lot of people were hyped about it. A lot of people wanted to see this lost match, and WWE finally put it out there. WWE put it on the world last night. They aired the documentary, and the match itself, you know, I gotta say, it's a good match. You know, back then, X-Pac covered it, especially at TV tapings. Match quality didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And for, you know, especially in that time period, this match was actually really good. It was a really good match. You know, Bret probably with the greatest carry job of all time. If you watch this match, Bret does absolutely everything. You know, Tom Magee virtually does absolutely nothing. You know, he does full cool moves. You know, he did a few great drop kicks. He did you know, a somersault, top rope, into the drop kicks. He did some arm drags, did a cartwheel, he did, you know, a nice sunset flip. So Tom Magee got a few things in, but besides that, like, he virtually didn't do anything. Bret was doing all the selling, he was doing all the work. It was almost like Bret Hart was virtually wrestling a broomstick. That's how good Bret was in terms of making Tom Magee look that good. And of course, Tom Magee ended up getting the win at the end with with an O'Connor roll, from a suplex into an O'Connor roll onto Bret Hart, and pins him to a huge upset. Like I said, that was Tom Magee's debut match and a tryout, and you know, the crowd definitely was behind him. You know, they were all for him. Every time he got his offense in when Bret was attacking him, the crowd absolutely lost their mind when he had his comeback. So in terms of a match quality, not a great match, but for back then it was great. I would say it was a pretty good match. Like I said, probably the best carry job you'll ever see. Bret made Tom Magee look $1,000,000, so you can see why they thought, excuse me, Tom Magee would have been the next big thing, because just the way Bret made him look. But, you know, just it never really carried off with Tom Magee. He just kind of faded out. You know, he worked with, like, the guys like Ted DiBiase, you know, down the road. And X-Pac even said it, you know, he just kind of faded out. But if he would have stuck to it, if they would have had him working with, you know, elite guys, you know, guys like Bret Hart and whatnot every single night for about a year, he probably would have grasped in the wrestling. He probably would have gotten pretty, you know, decent at it, if not good. And he probably could have been, you know, a top guy, if not the top guy. But it just, you know, the ball never got rolling with Tom Magee, and you know, Bret Hart ended up being the next top guy instead. And, you know, this documentary kind of really made me appreciate Bret even more. I've always enjoyed Bret's work in terms of, like, a psychology standpoint. You know, he's a great technical wrestler as well, obviously, but Bret is able to not just sell you in the wrestling, but, like, the facial expressions, the way he's selling for his opponents. The littlest things Bret does is what made, you know, people believe, you know, that his opponent had a chance, especially when he was the WWE champion, when he was facing guys like X-Pac and guys you didn't think stood a chance against beating him. He made them look legitimate and like they belonged in the ring with him. So I think this documentary really covered basis and really kind of showed how good Bret Hart was. You know, it took a guy like Tom Magee that really had no, you know, I'm not gonna say he didn't have any talent, but he really wasn't that good, and made him look like $1,000,000 in this match. And in terms of a little thing thrown together, like I said, I thought it was very, very good. I enjoyed it. It covered pretty much all the bases. I think, you know, there really isn't much to tell in terms of a match like this. It's just a tryout match, but, you know, I think there's more to say in, like, a Tom Magee documentary. I think that'd definitely be interesting, like an hour-long a network special on Tom Magee about, you know, him getting into you know, the WWE, and, you know, of course, the match with Bret, and, like, you know, the falling out they had, and him just eventually disappearing and wrestling and all together. So I would be interested to see about that. But for something, like I said, that was thrown together just for a tryout dark match with Tom Magee, I definitely thought it was a good special. I enjoyed it. Definitely would recommend checking it out. I definitely learned from it, and it'd be cool to see them do more things like this for other matches, or just, you know, I don't know, premiere things and have backstories to them like that. I think that'd be a really cool concept for the network. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the WWE Holy Grail, the search for WWE's infamous most infamous lost match. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please feel free to leave a like below. And of course, next time I'll see you guys there. Thank you guys for watching the video.